All right, everybody. Welcome back. We're gonna get started with our next session here. Before we do, I'm gonna drop one link in the chat. This is a request form if you'd like to request a deck of Finsights cards that we ended the last session with. That was going around in some of our chat channels. So just wanted to share that with you, get a custom deck of cards sent to your school. So with that being said, I'm gonna turn it over to our friends Kerri and Anand to really talk about some exciting stuff with AP Business and personal finance. So I'm going to turn it over to you all. Take it away, both of you. And Francisco, if we can help them get control of the slides.
All right. Awesome. Hello, everybody. There we go. Let's see if I've got control here. Advanced. There we go. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for selecting this session. My name is Kerri Largo. I am a high school business teacher, department chair, and college board consultant for this class. I field tested this for 2 years, so I'm excited to share this with you. I teach at Hoffman Estates High School, which is in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. And so, again, I can't wait to share a lot about the course. We have a lot to get through in an hour. Hoping to save some time at the end for some questions, but we do have a College Board representative. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Anand,
Thanks, Kerri. Hi,
say hi.
everybody. My name is Aanand Vasudevan. I work on the educator community team at College Board with the AP program. Specifically, I've been working on this AP Business with Personal Finance course for the past 3 years or so, and very excited to share this. Also, really excited to partner with our colleagues at Intuit to build out these really cool, amazing, supporting companion resources for this course. We think these resources really sort of bring this course to life, and we're very excited to share some initial sneak preview about these resources with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm going to really be talking for a lot of this. We'll have a breakout session in between. But I'm going to be focused on making sure I get through the material. So Anand will be managing the chat as well as some people from Intuit. I know we're going to have a lot of discussion, so please feel free to put your questions in the chat, but we will also save time at the end for any questions that bubble up or maybe things we don't answer along the way. But again, I'm so excited to have you there, to have you here so we can share this course with you. We're going to get the summary version because I can't possibly go through it all in 1 hour, but we'll get through as much as we can. So let's first talk a little bit about the course content and skills. Hopefully, some of you, if you haven't heard of this class, you will now. This is one of my favorite slides as I introduce the course. So, AP Business with Personal Finance is an introduction to business course. I like to think of it as the sampler platter of business, right? Students get to sample a variety of business topics. It is meant to be an introductory course. They don't have to have any prerequisites, which we'll talk about later. But if you look at this table on the left, this shows you the 5 units that comprise this course. So students will first start out with what is a business? What is an entrepreneur? How do business ideas get started? Then they transition into marketing. 4 P's of marketing: product, price, place, promotion. So if you're familiar, if you're business teachers on here, you know what I'm talking about. Then we transition to finance and accounting. Then we look at management and strategy. And then Unit 5 is our financial advisor project finance topics. Now, one thing I want to share with you is projects or units 1 through 4. As the students learn that content, they will also simultaneously be working on something called the Business Canvas Project, where they build their own business idea. And it's really awesome because as we learn about how business ideas get started, we then will transition into, well, what business would you like to start? Then, as we learn marketing, now, well, how would you market your business? We do market research. It's very hands-on. It's very important to them too, because it's their ideas. As they then transition, well, now we're going to look at what are the finances of your business? How much will it cost? How will you find that funding, right? Unit 4, well, what's your management? What's your strategy? How will you staff that? Units 1 through 4 are also what will be inclusive on the AP exam. So working through that project is a great way for them to have hands-on applications. Unit 5 will be ideal after the exam, and the students will then take on the role as a financial advisor. And present ideas and recommendations. And we're going to actually look at that in a little bit. That's where I'm going to have some interactivity here. You're going to look at that project and we're going to get in breakout rooms and I'll have you debrief a little bit. So yeah, it's not just sit and get here, everyone. But what I really want you to see and why I love this table, and we're in a personal finance conference right now too, so definitely want to stress the personal finance in this course. It's not named Business with Personal Finance for a reason, right? It's named that way. If you look across the top of this table, these are the Jumpstart National Personal Finance Standards. And there was a committee, and I was fortunate enough to be on that committee. We actually looked at the Jumpstart standards and said, okay, how do these align? There's definitely some connections here with personal finance and the topics in business. And I know my school in particular, we already had an intro class where we did this because we saw the connections between consumers and businesses, right? Consumers, they buy goods and services from businesses, and businesses hire consumers. There's this definite connectivity. And so, in many of the learning objectives and essential knowledge for the class, you'll actually see this integration. Businesses and individuals, et cetera, right? Business individuals create budgets. They both do this, right? They both need to purchase insurance. They both have expenses. And so this chart is really nice where you can see you have the business topics on the left, you have the personal jumpstart standards across the top. And where do we have this integration? Where do you see this? Personal finance is truly embedded throughout. And the College Board even has research on this that, if the students are connecting to themselves, it makes it easier for them to apply to these business concepts. Business is everywhere, right? If you're a business teacher, you know what I'm talking about, right? You're always telling your students, every career is a business. Personal finance is everywhere. And so this class really helps those connected topics align. So you see this throughout. So I think this is a really important slide to really show where the alignment takes place. In addition to learning objectives and essential knowledge that drive the content of the class that I just mentioned in the integrated approach, the course is also founded in skills. There are these 5 skill categories. I'm going to talk about this because these Intuit resources we're going to talk about look at not only the content learning objectives, but also these skills. So you have your skill category 1, which just basically says the students are applying these business concepts. We're looking at calculations. Skill category 2, entrepreneurship. So remember, I said they're going to build this business project and we're giving them these entrepreneurial skills. Maybe someday our students will start their own business. But if not, they also have this transferable, durable skill that's really important for our students, right? Sometimes companies are even hiring entrepreneurs to come up with the next idea. So we're providing that through this course. Then we have skill category 3, decision making, which is really embedded everywhere. Decisions for their own business, seeing how other businesses made their decisions, right? So that is a core part of this class. Then you have skill category 4 and communication and how they deliver real communications. And skill category 5 is your collaboration. Students are encouraged to work in teams anywhere possible, including that Canvas project, teams of 1, 2, or 3, where they're building their idea and seeing that, our world is about working in teams. How do we work together, making decisions and collaborate? Now, the AP exam is based on skills 1 through 4, but skill 5 is truly embedded throughout the course. So, for your reference, and you can Google this, there is a course and exam description that all AP teachers, it's really their rule book, is how I've been describing it in my summer institutes. It tells you all the learning objectives, it tells you the skills, it gives you more about the Canvas project. It really goes into detail. So, if you're about to start an AP class, if you're an administrator and your school is about to embark on this class, this is where you really is your starting guide on all things for the class. So you can definitely Google it, course and exam description, current AP teachers. You already know that lingo, the CED. It's a whole new acronym when you take an AP class. I like this slide too because this one demonstrates for you that thoughtful time and days are dedicated to business topics, personal finance topics, and this combination, right? There really is this connectivity throughout. It is not just like a side thing. There's a myth that, personal finance is just in Unit 5 when they do this financial advisor project. It's truly embedded throughout. And I think that's really important to demonstrate when we talk about this class. All right. Another really awesome component about this class is that when teachers teach this, they are required to use the case study method. The College Board does provide, as of now, we have 26 cases, 22 of which are real companies. The other four are like finance and accounting and ethics, where we're not putting real companies' information out there. But 22 as of now, more are being created, where students can learn from these businesses. And those of you that have done maybe a master's program or graduate program or received emails from Harvard, who's really big on the case studies, right? Case study is a method using at colleges and universities. Um, some of our high school teachers are using this as well, but students love this. They're experiencing a situation from a business. Here's a challenge they overcame. Here's a decision they made. Here's how they got started. And it's a great and engaging way for students to embrace the content. It is a great reading opportunity. We want our students reading, right? That's always a great skill. But they're learning from that. And it's a great way, again, to apply the content. What's nice about the case studies that are provided, it's a variety of industries. It's a variety of types of businesses, small, large. You'll have a mom and pop shop, somebody who started a florist business from their home, all the way through to Stanley, Bombas, companies kids have heard of. Um, Especially with 22 that are real, you can integrate websites, samples of products, Shark Tanks, things like that. So they become really engaging for the students. Teachers are provided a lot of resources with the case studies. Teachers do not have to use their case studies, but it's a great start. Every teacher receives answer keys, some handouts. You get suggestions for opening activities. Where does this align with the content? You'll learn if it's a decision case. All kinds of great resources. I could go on, and I have in my summer institute, but for time purposes, teachers do get a lot of great resources that accompany the cases. Again, it's a great way to engage in the content. All right, another element that we said was important, the business canvas project. And I think this is really something really important for to really highlight in here as well. So the business canvas project, again, is where the students from units 1 through 4 really embrace the material in their own way. They, in a group of 1, 2, or 3, depending on what you feel is best for your students, they create their own business or they develop their own business, right? Some students may actually create these, which is awesome. Um, they engage in the content, they collaborate and they build it throughout. And what they'll use is the business canvas. So this is a great, if you're teaching this course, I have a poster of this up. It's awesome. They're covering each of these different boxes as they build their business. Now, they don't do one box at a time. It is truly embedded through the unit. So as they cover their business idea, they'll cover that section. They'll cover the different sections again throughout the course. If we have any entrepreneurship teachers in here, you may be familiar with the business model canvas, which if is like a newer way a lot of entrepreneurship classes are going. So instead of an 80-page business plan and only to have people fail because they've worked it all out, but they never tested their ideas. The shift in entrepreneurship teaching was this business model canvas based on running lean or lean startup. It's very common in entrepreneurship classes, especially in college. But it's supposed to be a one-page document that's very fluid, where students can, test or entrepreneurs test their idea. Like we think this is what's going to happen. We develop a hypothesis or an assumption of, this is what we think people will pay for this. Well, then they go to the market and test that idea before they spend the time, money, energy in building it out, right? And then only to find that it fails. So it's like failing fast, right? Build, measure, learn, make sure that they're embracing the content. So the College Board is not using the business model canvas, but that's a connection many of you, if you teach entrepreneurship, have heard. This is their own version, but it resembles that for those who've seen this before. It's fluid, it's interactive. Kids should be testing their ideas. They're going to build something called a minimum viable product, which could be just a sketch or a drawing. Put it in front of the market. Would you buy this before I spend the money? And so they will embrace this process through this canvas project. They also embrace themselves in a pitch, which is really fun and engaging. So Shark Tank, if you love showing Shark Tank, it's a great opportunity for those students. But let's come back to another part of this class, the financial advisor project. So I really want to reiterate that throughout the entire course, personal finance is embedded. So here's some examples, right? So in marketing, you're going to look at customer behavior. Okay, why do we make the decisions we make? Before I make that large purchase, how do I go about that? Do I just impulse buy or is there a process? What thoughts go into that? And this is a great opportunity for teachers to, embrace maybe a comparison shopping activity. And we really talk about why we make the purchases we make. And then in the next breath, we then look at marketing. Okay, so why do businesses need to know how consumers make their decisions? We connect that and we see how they're related, why that's important for us to know in business, how consumers think. It's really awesome. Let's say investing. So I will backtrack here. In Unit 3, there's a 1 week kind of a toolkit section where students will focus on savings and they'll focus on credit. And it's just personal finance. It's a toolkit to give them some skills. What's savings? What does that mean? What's a CD? What's a money market? Let's look at some of these things. What's a credit card? What are some basic credit terms? Then when we finish the unit and continue in Unit 3, as we talk about business finance, we're going to apply those skills. It's awesome. We might need to bootstrap our business. Well, that means going to our savings account. Let's talk back about that. Or we might need to take out a loan. We talk about debt and equity financing. Well, what does that mean to have a loan? What's involved with that? Well, we just talked about that from a consumer standpoint. What does that mean now from our business? A business owner may also want to sell ownership of their business. Well, that's equity financing. I might sell ownership. That might be stock. Oh, wait, that's how consumers invest. They buy stock. And so you're always having this how, consumers interact with businesses throughout. So you're doing this throughout. And then what's really awesome is when you get to Unit 5, and we're going to look at this in a minute. In Unit 5, you're taking all the personal finance that you learned in Units 1 through 4, and you're taking it into this financial advisor project. The students take on the role as a financial advisor. They're given a scenario. The students are given the goals. They're given their debt situation, their goals for post-secondary education, retirement, right? They get this comprehensive project. And I'm going to ask you guys to look at that in just a minute and debrief. Um, but then they're applying concepts, and this is where it comes to be just personal finance. So the two lens approach that they've learned through units 4, they're taking that and then adding on more. And so the topics that didn't really have that two lens approach, we're building those in. So they're going to look at taxes in their paycheck. They're going to look at insurance. We do talk a little insurance in Unit 3, but now we might look at our auto insurance, our homeowners insurance, our life insurance, right? We're going to look at the insurance to manage our risk. We'll look more at identity theft. We're going to look at retirement specifically. Like, what would I do? What goals do I need? And you're going to cover these concepts while analyzing a whole family profile. Now, as of right now, one profile is available, but next year there's going to be multiple. So students will see, different scenarios and how different decision making, remember, skill 3, how different decision making can be applied to different goals so that hopefully they can internalize, as I'm in different stages of life, different risk tolerance, different time horizons. What are we looking at in different terms of family structures? How can we apply those to ourselves? So what I would like to invite you to do is, if you haven't already, and if I have my helpers, if they could post the link if you haven't already. I have a tiny URL, so hopefully you can type it. I have a QR code, hopefully it works. This is from the course and exam description, which is public. You can Google this, but I took it out of there specifically so it's easier. You don't have to go scrolling through pages. I would love for you to take a minute to open this up, skim through it, and I'd love for you to have some time to react to it. I would love to see what your thoughts are on how well do you think personal finance is in this course. Um, give you a minute to open it up. And then if I could please ask the Intuit folks if we could have a breakout room with small rooms. I would invite you to take 5 minutes after you've looked this over. Talk to the people in your room. How do you react to this? What do you think of the personal finance? This is the culminating project to pull all the concepts together. I would love to hear your thoughts. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes if you go to breakout room. We'll come back in 5, and I'd love to see the chat fill with some of your reactions. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm going to talk a few more things about the course, but that's where we're going to end up is we want to make that connection and what we can do. And I'm kind of skimming the chat, and I'm hearing lots of like decision making, comprehensive. It's meaty. I agree. That was my first reaction to what I'm seeing in the chat. Just excitement over this project that it's not rote memorization. It's not, can I define auto insurance? Oh my gosh. Like that's boring for you, boring for them, right? Especially insurance. We know how much kids love that topic. But if we can make it fun, engaging, and application, and now they take on this role. So this communication skill for how do you tell someone you've got too much debt? And how do you do it in a tactful way? So we're teaching them life skills in this class, even beyond, the personal finance and all the other content. There's so many things they're getting out of this. And this is a great project. So I plan to teach this Davis family that you saw as my class, like together, let's talk through it. But there's going to be more profiles available to the teachers where now you can have the groups do their own, and now we share different families that are, different compositions of family. You might have, five children. You might have a single family that doesn't have children. You might have an older couple. You might have a single living on their own. You might have urban, suburban. There's going to be a variety of situations so that kids are looking at different goals, different time horizons, different risk levels. And so when they share all that, that learning just exponentially grows, right? And then the question a lot of people want to say is, okay, or want to know about is that AP exam, right? At the end of Unit 4, this is a big thing for the students. So just real quickly, I just have a couple screenshots to go through before we go, and then some course information before we get to the Intuit stuff, but some common questions. So the exam will have multiple choice questions. There will be 60 for 70 minutes that they will, and they're usually short passages with a few questions on each. Case studies really help with that as well. Then they have free response questions. And if you get a chance to look at that course and exam description online, which everybody can just Google, it's there. You'll see examples of these, but you'll notice there's a Canvas validation. They don't turn in their Canvas, but there's questions to make sure they did it and to pull from that. There's a personal finance free response question. Again, Unit 1 through 4 covers enough that they will be assessed on personal finance. There is a question on a business concept and decision making. Remember, decision making is important in life, in personal finance, and in this class. They have a decision to make. So I just going to show a few other examples of things I'm just going to highlight real quick. But you'll see the exam is spread out against all the different skills, the different units. Um, it is truly comprehensive of everything they're going to learn. So everything they're learning will be applied on the exam. School implementation, the one thing I really want to stress with this course, because this is an administrator session, and so hopefully we have a lot of administrators who are contemplating the class if you haven't already. This class really is for every student. That student who's never taken an AP class, it's project based, so it's hands-on. The students might not be so scared to take that AP class, right? And then our kids who are all the way through the kids who take every AP class, right? Then especially we have those kids who want to maybe study business that gets them into our business programs, right? A lot of times they don't take business because it's not AP. Now that brings them in. So it is really meant for all students. Every career is a business. It benefits all students. Personal finance, every person. So it really truly fits for everyone. There is no prerequisite. It's hands-on. You have these case studies, these projects. It's a very engaging course that really comes to life through all the components. The course is targeted through the College Board as grade 10. However, recognize, definitely schools have different things. I've heard some schools, they don't have AP classes for freshmen. Some are doing this freshman, sophomore. Some are using it later. Your school, your state will have different guidelines, but it is suitable for a freshman, sophomore, ideally sophomore, for the reading level, for the materials, and hopefully for you business teachers, CTE, right? You bring them in, that AP carrot, the engaging content. And then hopefully now they're taking your accounting, your marketing, your entrepreneurship. They're taking that next level because they've been exposed to it all. Again, I talked about this like a sampler platter that they get of all the different business classes so they can experience it all and then see what they want. If you have one of these organizations at your school, BPA, Business Professionals of America, DECA, FBLA, those CTSOs, there are partnerships established through the College Board to align those competitive events through this course. So as students take this course, they're not only just learning for the course and life skills, but wow, they can apply that to their competitive events. It's really awesome. I know I had students in my field test who found lots of success in their events based on what we did. I had two students, I just shared this with some teachers earlier today. They went to the FBLA competition, placed second in entrepreneurship, and they came back to me and they're like, Dr. Largo, we used all the terms from the class. And I'm not a vocabulary teacher. It's all about application, but they recognize the things they learned in the class and they put it into their entrepreneurship event and they felt success and they took second at our very competitive area competition. So you have this additional layer of opportunity for students to see that success elsewhere, be outside of the classroom. So you'll see more. If you're one of those teachers, you'll learn more. There also this project-based learning application. If you are a teacher, if you're an administrator, please share this with your teachers. But if the teachers go to the AP Summer Institute, which you saw a little bit in the chat, it is where the teachers get prepared to teach the AP course. It's a launching pad for the course. For this course, there are these project-based learning guides that really help teachers apply the gold standards of project-based learning, gives them a day-by-day guide, and helps the teachers help facilitate a really engaging course, even to another level. So we'll talk about how you can get a grant to attend that in just a moment. But lots of resources for teachers who will embrace this class, project-based learning. In fact, I saw in the chat as well, I haven't used a textbook. Now, teachers who do sign up for this course, you are agreeing to look at a textbook and have access to a textbook, but students don't have to be required. You don't have to require a textbook for students to be in the class. You don't have to pay for that, but there are a lot of great resources out there. So you'll see what's out there, but the College Board does have a lot of great stuff for you. Okay, course adoption. We're going to share something. So this is a great time if you want to take a picture or a screenshot for participation grants, teacher grants. If you are a first-time teacher to this course, and some of you, your schools might not offer it till 27, 28, so grab this for next year. But teachers will be given a grant to attend the AP Summer Institute, the launching pad for the course, and you get the project-based learning guides. So you get all the materials, but it is covered by the College Board. So here's the grant, you can apply for it. It is for the first time teachers teaching the course. So some of you it's this summer, some of you it might be next summer, but I would definitely take a picture or screenshot of this. One out, 3, 2, 1. Next slide. Another resource that you have available to you is this chat with a content expert. And this can be for teachers, administrators. You can book a half an hour Zoom time, one-on-one, with people who have been really embedded in the course that can give you advice. What do you think about this, in my situation, or what's the course audit process? So we get a whole variety of questions, but maybe, right now you don't want to ask that question out loud, or you have something specific to your school you want to ask. This is a great opportunity to book some time. You'll see 6 experts available to you. You can check their schedule. You just book directly through their Zoom. It'll put it in their calendar and they can answer your questions. So again, College Board has really provided a lot of great resources and opportunities to ensure success with implementation of this course.
Kerri,
3,
really quick, we have a hand
yes.
raised real quick. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm focused on the slides.
Of course, yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I put the question on the chat. I just wanted to know, is there a chance we can get a copy of the slide deck because that has those QR codes that we could use?
Yeah, I mean, I can find out how that works.
I'm sure Intuit probably provides a copy. We'll check with them for sure. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know you're going to these sessions are all being recorded, but it would
no problem.
be super helpful.
No problem at all.
Sounds great. Yeah, and if you want to snap a picture, if you can't, I know some of you it might be hard because you're already on your phone or it's a tough situation you're listening to this, but yeah, that would be great. You can also Google all of these things. Like if you were to Google chat with a content expert, AP Business with Personal Finance, this will come up. It's one of the resources on the College Board website as well. But it's great that there's these opportunities. Here's another one you might want to screenshot. This will give you access to some of the things I was talking about earlier, like the course and exam description, aka the CED. That's, there's like this acronym. As you become AP teachers, if you're not already, there's a lot of acronyms, LOs, EKs, CEDs. You go over that in your Summer Institute. But you'll get, with these QR codes, you can Google all of this too. So if you don't catch all these, I'm going to yap a little bit so it gives you some time to screenshot these, but you'll get the CED, which is the rule book, right? It's the learning outcome, the learning objectives, the essential knowledge, the skills. You'll see about the Canvas project, the financial advisor project, the case studies. It's all in one, right? Now, if you want the day-by-day guides, that's the PBL. You got to go to the summer training for those. But then you'll have information about how to adopt it, right? What is information about the course and more information about the exam. All of these are on the College Board website, so you can visit the College Board website, but if you want the quick links, here they are. We will keep going, and then my goal was to have some time for questions and chat and so forth. So yeah, because there's definitely questions are coming up, which is awesome. All right. Now we're going to talk a little bit about Intuit resources because we still have about 25 minutes left of our time. Excuse me, sorry. I was talking today. All right. So as you know, you're here for Intuit. And Intuit has so many tools. I know I've used many in my classes. I use the TurboTax all the time. We'll talk about that. But I'm sure you've heard of them. Obviously, you're here. But with TurboTax, Credit Karma, QuickBooks, MailChimp, right? They have all kinds of great resources. And what's awesome is as of June 30th, so come back and visit the website June 30th, Intuit has put together a course that aligns in partnership. Okay, so in partnership with the College Board, they built this course for this course. So it pulls from all their great resources and they structured it in a way that if you are teaching AP Business Personal Finance, you have a one-stop shop. Some of these you could have found on your own, like the TurboTax, et cetera, but they've compiled it and aligned it to the 5 units of this course. So it's going to be a really great opportunity if you're teaching this course, right? You'll have the PBL guides if you go to the Summer Institute, you have the CED, you have a lot of resources, but Intuit has given you this free, we love free, right? Free opportunity for another set of resources that are really rich in using interactive tools. So let's kind of go through this. So teachers are given a teacher guide, right? You'll have a lesson plan. The lesson plans, now these stretch over all 5 units, which is awesome, right? So you'll have something for all the units. It's not just unit 5, right? Again, the myth is that personal finance is only in unit 5 and a little bit in unit 3. It's all over. So all 5 units. The lesson plan will go through, right? What are the learning objectives and essential knowledge that this aligns to? So it's directly aligned, right? You'll also see the skills that associated. We'll look at that in a second when I show you the one of the worksheets. It will tie in all their fun tools. So like their calculators, their simulations, their games, right? You'll get that. You'll also get an introduction ticket, an exit ticket. You'll have a worksheet of some type that will include one of these interactive tools. You'll have an answer key, right? Like teachers, we need that little bit of help. Sometimes we're planning, we're got a new class. It definitely helps to make sure we're on the right track. But what's cool about this too is all of these things will be in Google Docs. So it will be easy for you to share, put in your LMS. If you have Schoology, makes the Google Doc copy or Google Classroom, right? The students can have a copy and work on it in Google Docs. Or if you're moving away from electronic, just print that out. But you have a lot of great resources available to you from the teacher perspective to start with. Then we're going to look at from the student handout, right? So the students will have these worksheets, again, aligned to the learning objectives, the essential knowledge, right? There'll be 3 parts to it. They'll have to apply the learning. They're going to have to make some type of calculations and make some kind of decisions on that. And then they're going to have to communicate their recommendations. And I don't know if you remember earlier, those closely align with the skills of the course. So there's been a lot of thought put into these resources that align directly into what is included in the class, right? It's not just like, oh, we're piecemealing something. There was a lot of thought into developing these resources because they partnered directly with the College Board. The other thing that's really great is that they have some evidence-based scenarios that align with the AP free response questions. And you AP teachers, the FRQs, that's another acronym, right? So if you want students to have practice with those FRQs, the free response questions that are on the AP exam, this is another practice opportunity. Intuit has created 24 activities. So lots to choose from. So you can pick and choose what you feel is best for your class. Again, lots of great opportunities. All right, so let's take a look. So here's an example too of a calculator. There's lots of calculators. Like for instance, there's a savings calculator, right? The kids can put in what is their principal, what is the rate, what are the contributions, and over time, what does that equate to? So we talk about interest, we talk about savings, but let's see the numbers. Let's apply it. Let them see the impact of time and interest rates on that savings account. I love this one in particular because when you talk about pestle factors and how it impacts, your purchasing power, what is inflation? How does inflation affect, my savings? How does inflation affect like if I'm making decisions as a business owner or as a consumer in personal finance? Is my savings outpacing inflation, right? We can actually see the numbers. We're not just guessing and talking about it, we're actually applying it. So Intuit has all these different calculators embedded in, right? It's a really great opportunity for them to apply their knowledge. When the students are using these calculators and simulations, I think it's important to know that there's no installation. You don't have to pay anything. First of all, it's free. There's no setup, right? There's no student login required. You send them the link, they can access it, which is really important because as administrators, you probably know this already too. Some states have privacy laws where if students have to log into account, you have to go through a whole process and make sure their data isn't being taken and all that fun stuff. They don't have to log in. So that's a nice little plus in protecting students' data. So students, there's no barriers, right? Into having them apply the content to this course. I think that's such a great opportunity. So they'll have access again to all these different cards or simulations. And again, I talked about already the inflation calculator, right? It's Unit 1. It talks about how inflation affects purchasing power and business decisions. And again, these are just some samples of them. This is not quite the order that I'm talking about. I'm just giving you some examples. But in Unit 2, you talk about customer acquisition costs, right? If any of you watch Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful is always about that CAC. What's the CAC, right? Well, let's get the kids in the customer acquisition costs. Let's let them do the calculations, customer lifetime value. The kids can actually see if their marketing is fostering profitability. Unit 2, right? These are concepts from the course that they can apply and have these simulations and calculators. When you talk about credit, they have a credit climber game, right? Where students can make these decisions. They can see how these like decisions they're making now have long-term effect on their personal finance, right? What a great thing in Unit 3 when they're talking about credit and loans. And then this is the one I've used for years, the TurboTax simulator. Unit 5, you talk about taxes and how students, what's the effect on your paycheck and so forth. Well, what a great opportunity. Go to TurboTax. Let's see how to file your taxes. What does all this mean? And so there's a great TurboTax simulator the kids can use. And then you have QuickBooks, right? I use that in my accounting class too. But QuickBooks is great because then the kids can see financial statements. You have more practice, right, with financial statements and why entrepreneurs need to know how to read the numbers. Now you could give them extra practice by looking at an industry proven tool, right? Kids that know QuickBooks, it's a great thing to have on the resume. So you're introducing to them. And again, we're this class, you give them these little nuggets about business, it might foster their curiosity to take on maybe that accounting class or maybe learn more about QuickBooks or get QuickBooks certified, which is great on their resume. So I loved these Intuit tools when I looked through them. I'm like, wow, this really aligns. I'm looking forward to June 30th when it's available. I encourage you to look at that. Again, a great opportunity and tool for you guys.